spot between the Pitons where we picked up a mooring is accessible to land either through the Sugar Beach Resort or around Petit Piton to Soufriere. So it was either a long walk or a long ride to get anywhere, but it was a beautiful anchorage. We were a little nervous about coming to the southern part of St. Lucia because we had heard accounts of robberies and aggressive boat vendors, so we were relieved not to experience much in the way of unwanted attention. Overall, we found the island to be full of natural beauty with friendly people and plenty to see and do. Let's see where we are. Where are we, Ashley? Where did we hike like 5 miles to get to?
So we hiked from the middle of the Pitons up here to the Sulphur Springs. I don't know where they are, but it was like 3 miles probably. 4 miles? It's just straight uphill mostly, which made it a little difficult. And now we're covering ourselves in mud. Back up the mast for maybe the 4th or 5th time in 2 weeks, I think. We just broke the main halyard as we left the Pitons. We're now in Marigot Bay. And this time he's not wearing a harness because the main halyard broke, so we just had the topping lift to actually lift up our mast ladder. But he's not going to be there long. Since we'd already paid for 2 nights on a mooring, one more night wouldn't break the bank, and in Marigot Bay, your $20 mooring comes with access to the resort and the pool. We tried our best to pretend we belonged there, but felt more like homeless people who snuck in. Nevertheless, free water and treats were delivered to our lounge chairs, and they gladly accepted our cash at the swim-up bar. Though it was tempting to stay one more night, we didn't want to get too used to any special treatment and proceeded on to Rodney Bay, where we prepared to cross to Martinique in the morning. St. Anne turned out to be very charming. We wasted no time getting to the pastry shop and began more mornings than not indulging ourselves. My tiny coffee. Apparently that's what you get if you order coffee. We're living the good French life. I'm trying to speak French, but not doing a very successful job of it. Do something in French. Yes, you do. Bonjour, Jean.
Bonjour. Je ne parle pas français.
Since Cul-de-Sac du Marin is a major yachting center, we made the requisite trip over to the marinas to see what we might urgently need from the chandleries and waste time in souvenir shops. We decided to stay through Thanksgiving in order to celebrate with a few of the kid boats we'd met in Grenada, which left us with quite a few days to wander. We took a walk up the hill above the church to see the shrine and take in the view. We had a couple of lovely beach days, but mostly strolled around trying to figure out what to contribute for Thanksgiving dinner. Somehow I decided on 3 dishes that each required significant time in our oven with only 1 rack, but it all worked out.
Family. But it's Thanksgiving, so it's all about giving thanks for, all the great things we have in our life, including food.
A shredder.
I want my body back. There's turkey here.
I can read your stuff,
After stuffing ourselves with all of the traditional Thanksgiving dishes, we were headed to Fort-de-France, but we had to make a pit stop in Grand'Anse-d'Arles to fill up on water. A swell came in late in the night, making for a very rolly, mostly sleepless stay. We topped up the tanks with water and quickly headed out the next morning. Fort-de-France is a large urban center, and you're always sure to stumble upon something interesting while walking around.
in Fort de France again, and this time we only stayed 2 nights. Super rolly, and everything's under construction, so it wasn't quite as pleasant as the last time we were here. But we did make it to the marine supply store, which is our main goal. And we got some more lights so that maybe after dark we can still do things, stay awake and see what we're doing. Maybe see when we're cooking food with the house on. And then we got a little water filter for only $43, so we can feel a little bit more comfortable when we're getting rainwater in the tanks. And our lines right now are blowing chunks at us. Yeah, little chunks of white flakes that are super gross, so this will stop that. So we just arrived in St. Pierre, and John said he had a good feeling about getting the lionfish. When we originally found the prime lionfish hunting spot, we had been looking for the 12 ships that sank when Mount Pelée erupted in 1902. The eruption took out the city of St. Pierre, killing almost 30,000 people. Many of the ruins are still standing, and new buildings and homes have been built using the old walls. Of all the people in the town at the time of the eruption, there were only 2 known survivors. One of those was Louis, who was imprisoned in this cell. It's believed that the thickness of the walls are what saved him, and he went on to be pardoned of all crimes, traveling with the Barnum and Bailey Circus as the man who lived through Doomsday. There were restraints in here.
You can hear him like chained up.
Maybe.
Must have been like solitary confinement.
The Canal de Beauregard was built by slaves in 1760 to bring water around the mountain and down to the distilleries in St. Pierre. Once we climbed the hill to reach the beginning of the path, it was a nice change of pace to take a hike that didn't involve any steep inclines. Well, other than the one you might tumble down if you didn't watch your step. The cool water streaming along on the other side of the narrow path turned out to be quite pleasant and useful as well.
Nice headgear.
The canal ends in a tunnel that is no longer accessible and a tranquil restaurant above. It would have been a perfect day hike had it not been for our dinghy's engine threatening to overheat on the way there and back.
We took our dinghy for a nice long ride the other day. We decided to go like a mile to get to the start of some hike, and it started overheating because it wasn't pumping cooling water through it, and I just took it apart and found this big wad of hair, it looks like, stuck in here. So I'm hoping the problem was that simple and that now it'll pump water. So we'll see.
That's it? Does that block like an entire...
Yeah, it's pretty small little passages, so there's the tube. Everything's a big oily mess in here.
It was in there?
No, it was over here, but the water comes up through this tube and it's supposed to go through this little channel, but I don't know. It might not be the only problem. We'll see.